first.
What's up?
Did Baker's Browns prove anything in their win over the Jags?
Oh, yeah, they proved what we already know, which is they could beat down on bums, and that's what they do, and that's what they've been doing all year. But when it comes to those good teams, it's a different conversation. I was listening to you on your read as you was introducing this topic, and I didn't hear you say, oh, Baker Mayfield also missed a wide-open Kareem Hunt in 3rd and inches to win the game, to seal the game. You talked about the wide-open play in the end zone, but there were more. But the point of all this is Baker Mayfield is still who Baker Mayfield is. And it's crazy because I heard a quote about Baker Mayfield that I had to give some love to. Sorry I didn't get the name because it wasn't quoted by name. It was just one of those arbitrary quotes. It says, Baker Mayfield can throw a playing card into the middle of a deck. Now, that's some throwing right there. And you even see it in this game. There's some lasers that Baker Mayfield can throw. But he also can have trouble hitting the ocean from a boat. I mean, that's who Baker Mayfield is. Talking about yin and yang, talking about opposite ends of the spectrum, but certainly not a franchise quarterback. So, yeah, when I look at Baker Mayfield, I see the same exact thing that I saw even before this win. A guy that will bottom feed, that will go out there and beat only the bad teams.
No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. The Browns proved a ton in their win over the Jaguars. The old Browns would have found a way to lose this game. Let's be real. We've seen it for 2 decades now. Even if you're ahead, even if you've played good ball, you would have found a way to lose this game. The new Browns, these Browns, they found a way to win the game. Remember, it wasn't long ago that the Steelers were toying around with the Cowboys playing a quarterback, Garrett Gilbert, in his first NFL start. But the Steelers, good teams, still find a way to win. The Browns, a good team, still found a way to win. It might have been ugly. You play some ugly games. But in your ugly games, do you still get the W? That's what the Browns did.
Cam Newton. I'm sorry.
Here's what else we found. No. You play ugly games collectively as a team, not individually. Baker had 2 touchdowns. Cam 2 interceptions. Now, let's talk about what else we learned, and this is the biggest thing to learn. The Browns' method of winning works. People, they run the ball, they run the ball, they run the ball. It's not glamorous, especially in 2020. We have a microwave mentality. We want success now. Throw for 75-yard touchdown passes. I want to win now. But the Browns' method works. What do I mean? Browns are averaging 4.5 yards per carry in the first half this season, averaging 5.5 yards per carry in the second half this season. Browns averaging an NFL best 6.2 yards per carry in the fourth quarter this season. Why does that matter? Because in the end of games, I can speak to it as a linebacker. If the team keeps running the ball, early on, you stopping them. But it's like a leaky roof in you. It's like a leaky roof in your ceiling. It's like, that's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. Next thing you know, the whole roof collapses. Defenses, it's not a big deal. We're stopping the run. We're stopping the run. Next thing you know, the whole defense collapses. The Browns find a way to do that. Remember, against the Eagles last week with the Browns, Eagles held the Browns to 2 yards a carry through 3 quarters. But in that fourth quarter, 5.7 yards a carry. Nick Chubb sealed the game with one of his 54-yard runs. The Jaguars, in the fourth quarter, gave up 6.8 yards a carry to the Browns. I say this not to bog your mind down with stats, but I learned 2 things. Number 1, the new Browns find ways to win ugly games. Number 2, the Browns' method of winning works.
Look, Acho, that was very insightful, and I agree with you because their way works. I think the one thing that I would say the Browns have discovered in 11 games under Kevin Stefanski, they know exactly who they are. They know where their DNA is. They are a run-heavy football team. They play a certain way to match the deficiencies of the quarterback. And if they're able to get the game on their terms, they can be anything in the National Football League. This is the #1 ranked rushing team in football. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, they are a devastating 1-2 punch. They really wear you down with the body blows. And in the fourth quarter, you typically topple over. The reason they run the ball so much is because they have their quarterback on a pitch count. Anytime he throws, typically more than 26 times, is not a really good recipe for this team. He is what he is. He's a good player, not a great player. And once we take away the #1 overall pick label, we can say, all right, he's all right. We can do it. But for them to go deep in the playoffs, he is going to have to play at a higher level, or they're going to have to get this game on a certain script that enables them to play a certain way. For Baker Mayfield, he just doesn't need to turn it over. He's had 123 straight throws without a turnover. So as long as you don't turn the ball over, you run the ball and you play good defense, you're going to win a lot of games. That's the recipe for the Cleveland Browns.
You know what's funny about this recipe? It smells good in the kitchen. You know, it looks good when you pour it in the bowl. But then when I eat it, I'm like, this don't taste as good as it was smelling about an hour ago. What you doing in here, Grandma? And she like, oh, baby, that's that new recipe. I'm like, nah, Grandma, that's that old recipe, and it tastes old and nasty. And you know what's funny? You guys keep talking about this Russian attack, #1 Russian attack, and look what it's going to do, and that wins. Did it win last year? Did it win it all? Anybody see the Baltimore Ravens after that one-and-done performance in the playoffs? Oh, I'm sorry. What about the year before in the Seattle Seahawks when they had the #1 rush? What that happened was, y'all are archaic. Y'all grandma with them old-ass ingredients still trying to make it taste new and spicy. It's not going to work. This is a passing league now. And since it's a passing league, I understand you're trying to mask the deficiencies of your quarterback by running the ball, shortening the game, and then letting your defense go out there and not be tired and win the game. And that is their formula. The problem is you're not going to play the Jacksonville Jaguars in the playoffs. You're going to play good teams. And you're going to play good teams that are going to say, your plan A is to run this football. So we're going to put 9, 10 in the box. Who gives a damn? It's Baker Mayfield at quarterback. We're a good team. Let's see how Baker Mayfield performs now when he's forced to throw the ball, when you're forced to go outside that pitch count. Let's see who Baker Mayfield is against good teams. Full screen time now. Baker Mayfield, once again, is half-baked. And you can't mask the other half of this. Record against teams that are above 500. 1-3, still hasn't changed. Look at that completion percentage, pretty low. Oh, giveaways, 5. Quarterback rating, 64. Those are the playoff teams, y'all, on the right. Now, look on the left. Jacksonville and these guys that they love to feast off of. Looks pretty. Looks like a franchise quarterback. Here's the thing. What happened to the Ravens last year, what happened to the Seahawks the year before, and I could continue down that list, walking up into the playoffs thinking your plan A rushing attack is going to get you over the hump. Bruh, you're going to be at home chilling with us and Grandma.
But before you get over the hump, you got to get to the hump. Ooh. The Browns have not ever been near the hump. Baker Mayfield is going to get them to the hump, and that is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But I think about this, Sel. Remember, the Browns were 2-4 in one-score games last year. They're currently 5-0. Only the Steelers are 5-0 in one-score games. That is no small feat.
No, it's not.
We've said this before. 24% of games decided by 3 points or less. I want to say 51% of games decided by 7 points or less. So if you're telling me that it's a coin flip, but on this coin flip, the Browns are going to be right every time, or at least thus far have been right every time, as a Browns fan, you got to take that. You got to be cool with that. Now, do I think that the Browns might roll in and win a Super Bowl? I'm not saying that. But you talk about the Titans. They got pretty far last year.
They did.
The Ravens, well, they didn't, but the Titans.
Expectations were big.
Stopped them. Talk about the 49ers, a running team. They got pretty far last year again. I'm not saying the Browns will win the Super Bowl, but I don't think Browns fans are trying to win the Super Bowl right now. They're trying to do something they haven't done. Baker Mayfield's already having them do something they haven't done since 2007 by already not having a losing season.
Kevin Stefanski jumps in, and already he's guaranteed Cleveland fans that they're going to have a non-losing season. The first time and forever since Derek Anderson was the quarterback. And so, look, in raising your kids, you got to crawl before you can walk, before you can run. And so before they can become a Super Bowl champion, they have to be consistent participants in the postseason. Right now, they're at 8-3. The running game has enabled them to find a formula that gives them an opportunity to win against all comers. Now, let's just say Baker Mayfield improves, or he gets on a hot streak like we saw Joe Flacco get on a hot streak in the postseason. You just never know. But if they get into the tournament with this running game, you know what happens. And Marcellus, I know you can relate because on Saturday night, we watched those 2 old guys get into the ring. And we saw one old guy really persistently go to somebody's ribs. And Roy Jones was asking out of that competition because he was like, ooh. Well, when you look at Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt delivering those body blows to some of these opponents, we may see a couple of heads topple in the postseason, and that would be a job well done for Kevin Stefanski in his first year.
Ding, 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 ding.
Will y'all stop with this? I mean, how this team gonna even do anything to playoffs? Like, soon as they go out in the playoffs, whoever they play and face, they're gonna say, oh, you know what we about to do. Like, Coach, we don't even go over the defensive calls and coverages. We know what we're doing. Stack the box, and let's see what's going to happen right now. This team, this is the same team that lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers by 31, lost to the Ravens by 32, in their own division, y'all. And y'all now want to talk about how they're going to go out there and beat these good teams. They played the Raiders, lost to the Raiders as well. Like, I just don't see where the good wins have come from to the point where you're like, to the point where you have this confidence. Yes, you have a winning formula, but you don't have it high enough pitched in terms of what the defense is doing and what the running game is doing in comparison